Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Today, we are going to get back to basics. I'm going to give you 3 lessons from one of the world's most legendary investors in Warren Buffett. I'm also going to give you a little bit of a break from all the banking coverage that you have seen in your email, on your timeline, on Twitter, and everywhere else, okay? It is important. We have talked about it. I'm a little tired, okay? So let's get back to basics because number one, it's times like this when things are a little chaotic and the market's kind of wild, both good and bad, that we should focus on the basics and really kind of tune out all the noise and say, hey, look, what is it that I need to focus on and what is it that I need to be good at to make it through whatever storm and situation that we're in? That's the key thing here, all right? So for those that may not know, because this could be your first video, it's your first time liking, your first time subscribing, your first time commenting. You should go and do those things. But in case you don't know, Warren Buffett, depending on what day you're looking, he's top 10 richest people in the world, and he is known for investing in the stock market and doing quite well. He has outperformed the market for more years than I have been alive, ×2. So I'm not even 35 yet. You multiply it ×2, that's 70. He's been doing it for that long, if not longer. But Warren Buffett, he's the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. They are a holding company. That company goes and buys several other companies. So he has written a lot about investing. Obviously, one of the most famous books he has talked about is The Intelligent Investor, and he really lays out, and this is written by Benjamin Graham, the foreword is by Warren Buffett, and he talks about his entire investing process. Now, that book is thick. Okay, this book is thick. At some point, eventually, if y'all decide to, and y'all say in the comments, maybe we can do like a book club and we can break it down and like really talk about the book in a way that makes sense. But aside from all of that, here are the 3 key things that Warren Buffett does. Not all the things, but the 3 key ones I think you need to focus on, especially right now. All right. The first one is buying a business. When you are picking a stock and you're saying, look, I want to add this to my portfolio, you should view it as owning a business, not just a stock and not just something that you can just sell for higher later on. The reason is behind all of these companies, behind all these ticker symbols and all these apps are real businesses, and those businesses do matter. And when you understand how businesses work, particularly that business, you're gonna understand a lot more around, you know, how the stock might perform. You're gonna be right more often than not when you understand the business. An example, if you go back to 2021, I did several videos around Apple and Meta and even Snapchat and how a lot of these social media companies were going to fare with Apple changing its privacy rules. How do you understand this as a business? Well, if I know that Meta and Snapchat and others make money, Pinterest falls in this category too. If I know that they make money through using your privacy data and selling advertising, and most people have iPhones, and iPhone is not going to allow them, or Apple rather, is not going to allow them to share that data, their ads are going to be less effective. They're going to make less money. What has been happening since about 2021 to Meta, Snapchat, and Pinterest? A lot of those stocks have been falling. They have been losing money, and they have said this in their annual statements as well, that this privacy thing from Apple is hurting them. The same thing is happening with Google and their changes with cookies. I'm not going to get all into the tech side of things, but it's gotten a lot more difficult. For these companies to make money. That is why today in 2023, you're starting to see Meta lay off 20,000 people. You're starting to see them make moves differently and really change how they're making their money, and they focus towards the metaverse because they're not able to advertise in the same way. Well, if I'm looking at stocks rather, as a business, these are the questions I'm going to know. These are the questions I want to look for. I'm going to read the annual statements. I might take a look at their financial statements and really ask tough questions as opposed to flipping through my app and saying, oh, this one has an emoji, let me go and invest. That's not always the way, it's not really any way that you want to invest. Look at it like a business. If I owned a physical McDonald's, if I had a bad day or I didn't sell as many hamburgers as I wanted to, I'm not going to sell the entire McDonald's plus the parking lot. I'm not going to do that, right? But what I am going to do is say, look, where do I want to put this McDonald's? How much traffic is coming here? What do people like to eat in this particular area? What's selling the most? What hours should I have? All these questions I have to have if I want to make money and own a business. These are very similar questions that you want to ask of yourself as you're investing in many of these companies. All right, so that's number one. Number two, don't pay attention to the headlines. Don't do it. Don't do it. So you have to remember that whether it's Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNBC, Fox Business, whatever it is, they are designed to get you to pay attention. They write headlines in a certain way and get you to focus in and read their content. Why do they do that? Because they're a business and they want to advertise to you. Now, a lot of that is fine. The problem is they don't always know your specific investing goals, and what a lot of people can do if you're not really seasoned and don't really know what's going on, you will go and just buy based on whatever it is they say, or sell based on whatever it is they say. And you gotta be extremely careful. I used to have clients when I was a financial advisor in New York say, oh, I read something, I saw something, and it's gonna be a recession, and I don't wanna invest. And this was like 2016, and they didn't wanna invest, they wanna keep everything in cash. 2016, 17, 18, 19, and you go all the way to 2023, not investing for 4, 5, 6, 7 years can really hurt your returns. The stock market, believe it or not, is actually still up from 2020 to now. Now today the market was up, but as of last Friday, the market was up about 19.5% from 2020 to 2023. Yeah, it's still up, surprisingly, and that's because 2020 was up, 2021 was up, 2022 was down, and depending on where the market is today, the market was up for this year. So we'll see where it goes at the end of the day, but the market, again, was still up 20% just in the last 3 years alone. But if you are being sensationalized by a lot of these headlines, it can sway you in one way or another that might not really be in line with your goals. So you have to be extremely careful about just biting whatever headline is out there, because some things could be rumors. We've talked about a lot of rumors in the stock market that never came true. One of the most famous, at least in my memory, was Amazon supposed to be buying AMC. That one didn't happen, did it? Right? So you have to be very careful about just going for the headlines and going for those things when they may not actually occur. Right? You have to focus and say, instead of going for the headlines, say, hey, what is it that my goals are? What are my goals? And let me buy investments and make decisions based on that. And that is usually going to put you in the right spot. The last one, and this is perhaps the most famous from Warren Buffett, is he is a buy and hold investor. You should seriously consider buying and holding. Now, y'all know where I feel when it comes to the index funds. Those are buy and hold forever. Like that's just what you do. Okay, that's what I would do. But when it comes to owning individual stocks, if you decide to take that route, buying and holding is usually the best route. And when you look at Warren Buffett's portfolio, the top 5 holdings that he has, so if you look at all the stocks, he has like close to, I think 30 or 40 if I remember correctly. It does change from time to time. And you look at the top 5, so I think it was Apple, American Express, Coca-Cola. I'm sure those are in the top 3, and there are like clearly 2 more. He's had those on an average of like 17 years. 17 years for holding one stock. Now, to give you some context, the average investor holds a stock for, wait for it, 10 months. That's it. The average investor only holds a stock for 10 months, and you've got Warren Buffett holding for 17 years. So when you're buying a business, let's say McDonald's in this case, you want to hold on to it, right? You want to focus and figure out how well is this business doing, but also stick around for the long term. I just told you the market is up still 20% in the last 3 years alone. You can make a lot of money by buying and holding good businesses for the long term. You don't want to be reactionary, and you probably don't want to do a whole lot of day trading, because that becomes very unpredictable. And I've said this before as well. To be a trader, not holding for several months at a time, but doing something for a week or even a few days, is extremely difficult because you have to be right 3 times. You have to do it over and over and over again. So you have to choose the right time. You choose the right time to get in, choose the right time to get out, and choose the right thing. If you look at First Republic Bank, we had talked about that just yesterday. It was down 20, almost 30%, and the very next day it was up 20%. Today it was up like 20%. Who would have thought that? And then tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen. So you would have to not only choose that company, but you have to choose the right time to get in and out. Had you bought it on Monday and sold it on Tuesday, you took an L. right? You would have lost a whole lot of money. If you bought that same company last week and held it all the way through this week, you'd be down 60%. It's hard to do all three of those things consistently over and over and over again. However, buying and waiting a year, waiting 2 years, waiting 17 years in the case of Warren Buffett, you are increasing your likelihood to be correct. And on average, when you're holding a stock 5 years or more, you have a better than 90% chance that the stock is going to be positive. That's not every stock. Okay, it's not every stock in the world. However, on average, that tends to be the case. Now, you may be thinking, especially if you've been here for a while, if you haven't been here for a while, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment if you're up to it. Okay, I answer. Y'all know I answer. Like, it goes to my phone and I answer in my regular voice. Okay, but in either case, if you've been here for a while, you know that I will buy and reevaluate every 6 months. Now, reevaluate does not mean sell. And if you have been on public, you know that companies like, you can really go through all of my holdings, but you know, Apple, Amazon was left of Amazon that I have, Microsoft, O'Reilly's, Danaher, those 5 I've held for the entire time I've been on public, which is 3 years. The day they told me about the app is when I got on, and I've had those the entire time. So I've had those for years. I had Meta. I sold Meta finally at the end of last year. I've had them for a better part of 5 years. Same with Microsoft. What I do is I come back and say, hey, look, are you renewed to the next 6 months? And more often than not, I try to hold on to them for the long term. Adobe, I had for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and then ended up letting that go, which was a good decision at the time. But my goal is, I would love to continue holding businesses in these stocks for a very long period of time. And many of them, as I mentioned, do get to do that. But there are some that I cut short. Warren Buffett does this as well. Go back and look at how long he held JetBlue and some of the other airlines. But more often than not, you do want to hold. You want to buy and hold for the long term. You want to buy and look at things as a business, and you want to make sure that you're tuning out the noise. These 3 tips will help you, especially in times like this. Really over the last 3 years, if we're being honest, because it has been a constant state of unprecedented times. But in real life, you are going to need those tips if you want to be a successful investor. All right, if you want to kick this thing up one more notch, then you already know what to do. That is to join our members only, where we do exclusive deep dive breakdowns every single week. We're going to break down a trade, and I think we have some other questions I want to make, do some exclusive deep dives into, as I'm stuttering here, because y'all asked some pretty specific questions, so I really kind of want to break those down. I think someone asked about some income generating strategies when it comes to the stock market, so we'll talk about those as well, but it's going to be the members only. If you want it, you know where to go. All right, that is it for me. I will talk to y'all tomorrow, and if you have any other questions or suggestions of things that you want me to cover, let me know. Okay, the comments are open. All right, okay, talk to you tomorrow.